Welcome back to County Board Wrap-Up, and this month's big story, the new Community Oversight Board for the Police Department here in Arlington. I'm joined now by Board Chair Matt DeFerenti and Board Member Takis Karantonis. And we had quite a bit of discussion from the public over the past few months on this issue, including a variety of public engagement sessions. But before we get into all that, let's take a few steps back. What was really the thought process that went into the idea of creating a community oversight board here in Arlington?
Sure. So over a year ago, in the weeks and months following the murder of George Floyd, Arlington wanted to take a look and really understand where are we on criminal justice and fairness. And it's appropriate because of this national challenge that we're facing. But Arlington also has its own history, and we have had a police department that has served our community well, but there are parts of our community that have felt not well served. And so we wanted to listen to our communities of color and seek to build greater trust going forward. So our manager over a year ago brought forward this police practices group with 4 subcommittees, and one of them is focused on community oversight. And so we've had an extensive process. The PPG group, as it's called, has had a ton of meetings, and this particular subcommittee, chaired by Rodney Turner, has really done a lot of additional work to bring this forward. And so we've had some initial recommendations. Those came before us in May. We advertised an ordinance, and then we had a lot of follow-up engagements, 2 work sessions, and sort of an interactive session. So all of those have led to the action that we took to stand up this Community Oversight Board. Mm-hmm. And I think we're excited about this opportunity. And I think we both need to understand it was precipitated by some very painful events. And there are residents who don't feel trust with our police department. But if we look at it as an opportunity to take the next steps to further strengthen and build trust with communities that historically haven't felt it, that's the way to look at it going forward, as a way to take that next step for our community.
Well, let's break down. There have been a lot of kind of iterations of the details of this Community Oversight Board since it was first proposed back in May. Let's break down the ideas of the main functions of the Community Oversight Board. Takis, we'll start.
Thank you. So one issue, the number one is that the Community Oversight Board is asked to provide fair, objective look on investigations that the police department is conducting, especially in sensitive things, like, for example, if there is an allegation of misconduct or there is another complaint, etc., that can come from a citizen, that can be anonymous. So there is a direct recourse to the community oversight if anybody feels that there is an issue. And this will be, so number one, there is investigatory power. This will be fully and thoroughly investigated. The board has the ability to access all documents or evidence. Actually, the to be appointed independent police auditor, who will be essentially the staff person for this board, will be contemporaneously, so at the same time, with police on the investigation. So the community oversight is happening from the point zero of an investigation, can be there. And the second thing is the board, if there is still an issue, which we believe it won't be very often the case. Actually, we want this never to be the case, but if needed, the board has full subpoena authority. So they can subpoena the records, the evidence, all the testimony that the oversight board needs to get to a conclusion. And at the end, the oversight board can and will issue conclusions on their findings. And this will be reported to the county board, and the county board, who we are the elected representatives of the people in Arlington, we will make a determination. I should also say, the motivation for that comes from both sides. Not only the community at large and those communities that have been more vulnerable to policing and we have been, more police than others, but also I have to underscore the willingness and the collaboration of the police department itself. So this couldn't have been accomplished without every stakeholder, including the elected officials, county government, community, and the police department working together to get it done.
Now that the COB is officially approved, it's been a very long process, as Matt, you mentioned a moment ago. Where do we go from here? Where do we go for the rest of 2021 in terms of, establishing this board, appointing this board getting to work?
Sure. So the county board will work with our manager there are two groups of individuals we need to pull together. We need to hire an independent auditor monitor, and we need to vet community applications and appoint the 7 members. Well, it's 7 voting members and 2 retired, 3-year space between their last law enforcement job, and then so this would be 2 additional non-voting, but essentially experts, technical experts that could help us to be the last 2 members of the Community Oversight Board. So we need to find those people and have a fair process with community input and to fill those spots. And we discussed how important it is that the Oversight Board have people whose experience is particularly critical to this. We anticipate a large number of those individuals will be individuals of color, perhaps organizations that have returning citizens, and so we need to find those people. And there's also then going to be some work on a memorandum of understanding to work out procedures and processes. But the big picture, Takis referred so well to what was the main part of our discussion was what is right for individual complaints with respect to more or less officer conduct. There's a whole other piece. There's about 9 items in the Oversight Board's jurisdiction that would include in sort of understanding policy and practice. A great example is traffic stops. That was a subject that the PPG worked on, but we think that this Oversight Board can really help look at those sorts of issues. And frankly, that is something that the police chief has expressed such an openness, as have our police, to saying, let's take a look at those to see, is there a disproportionality between those stopped and the demographics of our community. So I think there is so much that is going to be part of this Oversight Board's work, and it is a regular, transparent, and accountable way of engaging on this issue. This is not about the past and what we might not have been and have not been. This is about what we can be as a community, and the purpose of the Oversight Board is to help us get there on a number of policy and complaint-related issues that are linked to our criminal justice system. Because it is, if you look at our jail population, it's a fact that it is not reflective of our population as a whole. And we're Arlington, so we want to do better, and on racial equity, we must. And this is one way we're going to.
Anything to add, Takis, on just kind of an overall goals of the COB and where we go from here?
If I had to add one thing, is that the COB, the Community Oversight Board, is a place of where we really bring people together. It's not a battlefield, it's not a dividing place. It's a place of community. Community oversight is about improving on Arlington, on our community. And I believe, and this is why everybody agrees to have one. Everybody agreed to have one. So I am definitely positive, and I expect that this independence, the way the board will do the investigation on a complaint, that is fundamentally comes from an independent point of view. Fair means independent, means impartial. And this is why their findings will be also far better accepted and digested, and they will contribute to lasting improvements. This is the outcome we want to see. We never denied that we have issues with racial discrimination and other types of issues. This is not the only type of misconduct that exists. So the board will definitely bring us a very big step forward. This is a real great improvement.
All right. Well, of course, there was plenty more to discuss from this month's board meeting, and that's where we're turning to you, the viewers. We're going to answer your questions on some of the hot issues from this month's board meeting and let you know how you can participate when we come right back.